if the playoffs started today, the Fever would be in the playoffs and they would be matching up against the Connecticut Sun. And I just kind of wanted to go through that matchup because I think the Fever could beat the Connecticut Sun in a playoff series. I could be crazy, but I honestly think that let's go through a couple of things. Now they play August 26th, if I'm not mistaken. Fever won 84-80. And I just think the key to this matchup, let's look at it from an offense, defense, X factor perspective. Now, the Fever have the offensive advantage, in my opinion. They got two top 10 scorers, Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell. I think Kelsey Mitchell is 8, and I think Caitlin Clark maybe 9. And I think Aaliyah Boston is another uh offensive player. So if you ranking the top 3 offensive players in this series, me personally, I think all 3, it'll go Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and then maybe Mabry, Bonner, Thomas, something like that. Oh, damn. But me personally, I think the Fever have a clear edge offensively. Defensively, I think the Connecticut Sun have the defensive advantage. But it's like, I do think Carrington could do a good job against Caitlin Clark because in the game in August, Caitlin Clark was 7 for 17, 3 for 12 from 3, 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Kelsey Mitchell was 8 for 14, 4 7 from 3, 23 points, 4 rebounds. Leah Boston didn't have the greatest game. Melissa Smith was pretty solid. But then you go to, I think the key to this series is going to be the Marina Mabry piece for the Connecticut Sun. Marina Mabry was 50% from the field, 16 points, 4 for 9 from 3 against the Fever. Dewana Bonner. I think Dewana Bonner has been kind of terrible this year. Let's just keep it a buck, man. She's kind of been terrible, man. She's supposed to be like the girl version of KD. She has not been efficient this season. Not in the games I've watched, at least. I think Alyssa Thomas can kind of struggle to score sometimes. I think Dejanay Carrington, she's solid. She's a pretty good scorer. But I just don't think they're the greatest scoring team. Now, they're going to have to make it a very physical. I think Alyssa Thomas is very physical. I think she's the toughest player in this series. She's a triple-double threat. But I think her lack of shooting, the lack of consistency of Dewana Bonner, I don't know. And then I don't know what I think Marina Mabry is going to be the X factor for Connecticut. But the thing is, they do have Brianna Jones. They got Dejanay Carrington, like I said. I'm not sure if their depth just completely outshines the Fever depth because I do like Fan Bentley. I do think Lexi Hall has showed that she can be that 3-and-D wing because she had 17 points. She hit 4 threes. She had 8 rebounds against the Sun when they matched up. I like Wheeler at times, Dantes at times. Samuelson is terrible. I ain't gonna lie. Christy Wallace is terrible too. Christy Wallace and Katie Lou Samuelson was the worst starters in the WNBA, in my opinion. They were absolutely terrible. And they might not even get a lot of minutes in this series. Let's just keep it a buck. I think if you have an 8-man rotation, it should be Melissa Smith, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Lexi Hall, Caitlin Clark, then Dantes, Fan Bentley, and Wheeler. That should be the 8-man rotation. And Melissa Smith is the X factor for the Indiana Fever. She has to be consistent. She has to hit free throws, man. It was a game, I think they lost to the Aces. The Fever lost to the Aces. They didn't hit no free throws, man. Like, just the free throw percentage was terrible that game. I'm not sure exactly what it was off the top of my head right now. But they free throw shooting has been bad, especially Melissa Smith. So I'm not saying the Fever should win this series. I'm saying they could win this series, and I'm picking them to win this series if they matched up with Connecticut. Now, if they don't match up with Connecticut, and I could just be looking like a complete fool, but I think the matchup will be Connecticut. I think the Fever got action. I would pick, if I had to put money on it, I'll put money on the Fever, bro. I think the Fever will beat Connecticut Sun in a series because I think they have the 2 most dynamic offensive players. The 3 most dynamic offensive players in this series. The X factor for Indiana would be NaLyssa Smith. The X factor for Connecticut, in my opinion, would be Marina Mabrey. So, and then I don't even think Connecticut has the defense advantage. I do think they have the coaching advantage. The coach for the Suns clears Christy Sides. I think Christy Sides is a solid coach. She's not terrible, but for her to actually find her starters 30 games, I mean, yeah, I think yeah, it took about like 20, 25 games of a 30 game season, 31, 32 game season to find her rotation. So I don't know. Connecticut Sun got the defense advantage and the coaching advantage. And outside of that, I think the Fever have the advantage everywhere else. They got the 3 stars on offense. They have the depth. Probably got the depth advantage, in my opinion, in terms of just the 3 players in Wheeler, Van Bentley, and Dantas. I think Fever win this series, man. I could be wrong. Let me know. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I just don't think the Connecticut Sun have been playing that great as of late. And that win against the Fever, it was a real win. So that win that the Fever had against the Sun was a real win. So I would pick the Fever to beat the Sun in the series. And I think Caitlin Clark wins a playoff series in her rookie year, man.
Found some shit I love to do, so I can live comfortable. Searching for a peace of mind, need that when it's time to rhyme. Perfect in every line, any chance I get, and I know it takes time, but I would never quit.